Okay, so like, have you ever noticed how prepping for a job interview can feel like like prepping for some kind of big performance,
Yeah.
All that nervous energy, hoping you don't totally blank when the pressure's on.
Yeah, it's like stage fright, but for your career. That pressure to make a killer first impression, it's real.
Totally. It's a tightrope walk for sure. But what if, and stick with me here, what if you had like this secret weapon, a playbook for dodging those classic interview curveballs?
Well, that's what we're diving into today. We're going deep on how to just totally rock those job interviews with a little help from a pro, Richard McMunn from CareerVids. He's been a hiring manager for over 30 years, so he's kind of seen it all.
Oh yeah, he's been there, done that. And his YouTube channel, it's like this gold mine of insider tips and tricks.
And in this deep dive, we're taking those insights even further. We're not just like summarizing his videos, we're really digging into the why behind the advice. Think of it as like your cheat sheet for interview success.
Love it. It's about really understanding the strategy, not just, parroting back memorized lines. Exactly. So let's just jump right in with the granddaddy of all interview questions, the one they pretty much always hit you with first. Tell me about yourself. Seems simple enough, right?
Sure, but it's where so many people stumble. It's like your first chance to grab their attention, make them want to hear more.
It's like a movie trailer for your career. Got to hook them from the first sentence. Luckily, Richard's got this brilliant strategy he calls the SEAT method. It's like a mental checklist to make sure you hit all the key points. We're talking skills, education, achievements, and the big one, type of person you'll be for them.
I love how practical that is. It breaks down this potentially overwhelming question into these bite-sized pieces.
It's genius.
Yeah.
And the best part, he ties it to that very moment. You're sitting there in the interview on a seat. Seat, easy to remember, even when you're nervous. But the real magic is how you use it. You're not just listing off your resume, you're showing them how your skills and experiences directly connect to what they're looking for. It's like you're speaking their language.
Right. It's all about showing them that you get it, you understand their needs, and how you can help them solve their problems.
Exactly. So you might start with your skills, highlighting those that match up with what they're asking for in the job description. Then you slide right into your education and experience, emphasizing how they've prepped you for this specific role. But here's where it gets really interesting. You got to quantify those achievements. Don't just say, I increased sales. Tell them by how much. Did you streamline a process? How many hours or dollars did you save them? Those details, they make all the difference.
It's the difference between, like, I'm a good writer and my blog posts consistently rank in the top 10 on Google, bringing in 20% more website traffic. One is just a claim, the other is cold, hard proof.
Exactly. And to wrap it all up, you showcase what kind of person you'll be for their team. This is where you let your personality peek through a bit. Are you a team player? A problem solver? Someone who thrives in a fast-paced environment? Connect those traits to their company culture. Show them you're not just a good fit for the job, you're a good fit for them.
You're showing them you're not just looking for any job, you want to be a part of something you believe in, and that's huge.
Okay, so you've nailed the tell me about yourself. Now get ready for the next question, the one that can be a real deal breaker if you're not prepared. Why do you want this job? This is where so many people fall flat. They give these generic answers about wanting a new challenge or, being passionate about the industry. And we all know that's not going to cut it, right?
Nope, not even close. This is where you really got to flex those research muscles.
Oh, tell me more about that. I love a good pre-interview research deep dive.
So imagine this. Instead of just skimming their website, you go full-on Sherlock Holmes on them. You dig into their recent projects, their values, their culture, everything. You find something that really gets you fired up, something you actually connect with personally. Then when they ask, why this job? Boom. You hit them with an answer that's not just about you, it's about them. It's about how your goals and theirs, they're on the same page.
So it's about finding that sweet spot where your interests and their needs overlap. It's about showing them that you've done your homework, that you're not just there for a paycheck. You're there because you want to be a part of what they're building. So good.
It shows you're genuinely interested, enthusiastic even, and that goes a long way in an interview.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about that question that often feels like a trip to a fortune teller, Where do you see yourself in 5 years? It's like they want you to predict the future, and who can really do that?
Right, but it's not about having a crystal ball. They're not looking for a detailed roadmap. They just want to know you're ambitious, but more importantly, that your ambitions align with their company's future.
You're on the same trajectory, heading in the same direction. I like it.
Exactly. They want to see that you're invested in building a career with them, not just hopping from one job to the next. So instead of laying out a 5-year plan, talk about your broader career goals and how this company fits into that bigger picture. If you're interested in leadership, let's say, mention that you see yourself taking on more responsibility, but frame it within the context of their company. I want to learn and grow and take on new challenges here.
Show them you see a future for yourself within their organization. So instead of saying, I want to be CEO, you might say something like, I'm excited about the opportunity to grow my leadership skills within a company that values innovation and, where employees are encouraged to develop their skills.
Yes, highlight your commitment to always learning, to getting better at what you do. Companies love that. Now, how about we tackle those classic strengths and weaknesses questions? Feels like every interview has them, right?
Oh, they're like a rite of passage. They can be a little tricky, but they're also your chance to show that you know yourself, that you're self-aware, and importantly, that you're always working to improve. So let's start with the positive. What are your strengths? Time to toot your own horn, but it's not about just rattling off a laundry list of adjectives.
It's about picking the strengths that really matter for the job. It's like a matching game. You've got your skills and they've got the job description. Your job is to find the perfect match.
Ooh, I like that. So if teamwork is a big deal in the job description, don't just say I'm a team player. Give them a real-life example of a time you crushed it by working collaboratively. If you're looking for someone who's super organized, detail-oriented, talk about a time you managed a crazy complex project with a million moving parts and nailed it.
Yes, don't just tell them, show them. And here's a bonus tip. Highlight strengths that show you're a problem solver at heart and you're all about that continuous improvement life. Those are golden qualities.
Absolutely. They want to see that you're proactive, you're resourceful, and you're always looking for ways to make things better. Okay, ready to dive into the weakness question?
Yeah.
Because that's where things get really interesting.
That's the one that feels like a trap sometimes, you know? You want to be honest, but you also don't want to shoot yourself in the foot. It's a tightrope walk for sure.
So true. Well, Richard has some pretty solid advice on this one. He says to steer clear of that whole I'm a perfectionist line. Let's be real, it's played out,
Right.
Plus, it often comes across as, well, kind of insincere, like you're trying to disguise a strength as a weakness.
It's like the boy who cried wolf of interview answers. Everyone's heard it. Nobody believes it anymore.
Exactly. So instead of going down that road, pick a real weakness, but one that you're actively working on improving. This shows them you're self-aware and you're committed to growth. Huge pluses.
It turns the question around, you know? You're saying, hey, I'm not perfect, but I'm working on it. I'm always striving to be better.
Exactly. And Richard actually gives some great examples of weaknesses you could use, depending on you and the job, of course. He mentions things like delegation, public speaking, and sometimes struggling with impatience. These are all areas where someone might need to improve, but they can also be developed with effort.
Love those examples. And remember, it's not enough to just name the weakness. You got to show them how you're tackling it head on. So for instance, if public speaking is your thing, you could talk about how you've been taking a course or maybe join Toastmasters to sharpen those skills.
Yes. Shows initiative, shows you're willing to get out of your comfort zone. And just like that, you've flipped a potential negative into a positive.
It's like you're saying, okay, I'm not quite there yet, but I'm on a mission to improve. I'm all about learning and growing. Who wouldn't want to hire someone with that mindset?
Okay, now let's switch gears a little and talk about a question that needs some finesse, especially if you're still working at another job. Why do you want to leave your current job?
This one's all about staying positive, you know? You have to be honest, but without trashing your current employer. Nobody wants to hear that. Richard really emphasizes focusing on your desire for new challenges and, how you're ready for the next step in your career.
It's about presenting your departure as a natural progression, not like you're running away from a bad situation or anything.
It's like instead of saying, I'm out of here, this place is the worst, you're saying, I'm excited for this next chapter, for all the amazing opportunities that await.
You're running towards something, not away from something. Love it. So instead of something like, my boss is a nightmare, that's why I'm leaving, you could say, I'm so grateful for everything I've learned at my current company, but I'm ready to take on new responsibilities, really stretch my skills and keep growing professionally.
Now that's how you do it. Positive, professional, and it shows you're ambitious in all the right ways.
Exactly. It's about focusing on the future, not dwelling on the past. And speaking of what gets you going, let's talk about motivation. What makes you tick? This question, it can feel a bit personal sometimes, but they're really just trying to see what drives you if your engine, so to speak, is aligned with their company culture.
It's about finding that shared energy, that spark.
For sure. And Richard warns against leading with money as your main motivator, unless, of course, you're applying for a sales job where commission is everything. Generally, hiring managers, they want to see that you're genuinely into the work itself, not just the paycheck. So how do you answer this one authentically without sounding like every other candidate?
Ditch the cliches, dig a little deeper, ask yourself, what is it about this kind of work that really gets me excited? Is it the challenge, the problem-solving aspect? Do you love that feeling of making a real impact? Or maybe it's the team environment, that collaborative spirit. Figure out what lights your fire.
I love that. Get specific. Get real. So, for example, instead of just saying, I'm passionate, which, let's be honest, everyone says, you could say something like, I'm really motivated by the chance to use my analytical skills to solve problems that have a real impact on the world. I thrive in environments where everyone's working together towards a common goal, where I can learn from others and contribute my own skills and ideas.
Nailed it. That's authentic, it's specific, it shows them what you value and what you bring to the table.
It's about connecting your inner drive with what the company stands for. And it shows them that you're not just there to punch a clock, you're there to be an integral part of something bigger. Okay, ready to tackle a question that tests your people skills. How you deal with those sometimes tricky personalities in the workplace.
Oh, you mean how would you deal with a conflict with a coworker question? Yeah, that one can be interesting.
That's the one. It's all about showing them that you can handle disagreements, that you can navigate those sometimes choppy interpersonal waters, and still create a positive and productive environment.
It's about showing them you've got emotional intelligence, that you understand how to deal with people in a professional way.
Exactly. And Richard really emphasizes the importance of direct, respectful communication. He says to avoid saying you'd immediately run to your manager to solve the issue. It makes you look like you're not willing to handle things yourself. You want to show them that you can resolve conflict on your own without always needing someone to step in.
You got to be a proactive problem solver, not a problem escalator.
Okay, I love that. So how do you answer this question in a way that shows you're mature and, you've got that emotional intelligence?
Start by acknowledging that, look, conflict happens, right? It's a natural part of life, especially in the workplace. Then emphasize that you're all about finding a solution that works for everyone. You could say something like, if there was a conflict, I would first try to see things from my coworker's perspective. I would talk to them about it directly, calmly and respectfully, of course. And then we'd focus on finding a solution that works for both of us, something that benefits the entire team.
Now that's a great answer. It shows that conflict doesn't scare you, but you handle it like a pro.
Right. It demonstrates that you're a team player, you value communication, and you're all about collaboration. And you know what? It shows you can handle tough conversations with grace. Okay, are you ready to dive into the world of behavioral questions?
Bring it on.
All right, these are those questions where they ask you to tell them about a time when, like a specific situation from your past. They're trying to see how you handle things in the real world. And this, my friend, is where the STAR method comes in clutch. You familiar with this one?
It's like their secret decoder ring to figure out if you're the real deal.
It's true. The STAR method can be a game changer for these kinds of questions. So STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. Basically, you're telling them a story, a mini story about your experience.
Oh, I like that story. So you start with setting the scene, right?
Exactly. You give them the situation, the background, so they understand the context. Then you lay out the task, what you needed to accomplish, what your goal was.
Got it. So they know what you were up against. What's next?
Action, baby. This is where you shine. You tell them what you did, the specific steps you took to tackle that task, to overcome the challenge.
Show them how you operate, how you get things done.
Exactly. And finally, you hit them with the result. What happened because of your awesome actions? Did you crush your goals? Save the day? This is your mic drop moment.
I love a good mic drop moment.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's put this STAR method to the test. How about that classic interview question? Tell me about a time you worked as part of a team.
Oh, that's a good one. And you know what? Richard actually gives a really solid example for this one. Let's say you were on a team that had to launch a brand new product. You could start with the situation, something like, I was on the marketing team and our manager gave us this huge task, create a buzzworthy campaign for our latest product.
Okay, so we've got the situation, the stage is set. Now what about the task?
Right. So the task was to develop and execute this amazing marketing strategy, something that would generate excitement, drive those sales, make everyone want this product.
Make it the next big thing. Okay, I'm getting excited just thinking about it. So what did you do? What action did you take?
This is where you show off those teamwork skills. You could talk about conducting market research, brainstorming creative ideas for the campaign, maybe using social media and influencer marketing, working closely with the sales team to create killer promotions. Oh, and don't forget about tracking those metrics to see what's working and what's not, making adjustments along the way.
Wow, so much action. You're like a marketing ninja, strategizing and collaborating and just making things happen. What was the result of all this amazing effort?
Well, in this example, you could say something like, because of our awesome strategy, we didn't just meet our sales goals, we blew them out of the water. The campaign went viral on social media, we saw a huge spike in website traffic, and our brand awareness shot through the roof.
Now, that's what I call a successful product launch. You took that question and turned it into a powerful story about teamwork, marketing genius, and achieving amazing results.
See, the STAR method, it's your secret weapon. It helps you stand out from the crowd, gives them concrete examples of what you can do.
It's like showing, not just telling. Okay, let's try another one. How about describe a challenging situation you faced at work and how you handled it?
Oh, this one's all about showing them you can handle the heat, that you're a problem solver, someone who stays cool under pressure. They want to see that you can handle anything they throw at you.
They want to see you in action, how you handle those curveballs.
Yes. And Richard, he shares another great example using the STAR method. He talks about this time when he noticed a ton of negative online reviews popping up about his company, which, as we all know, can be a total nightmare.
Oh yeah, those online reviews, they can make or break you these days.
For real. So what did he do? He didn't freak out, which is important. He figured out the problem. Customers were complaining because their orders were late, really late. So there's your situation and task. Why are deliveries messed up, and how do we fix it?
Okay, so he's already showing them he's proactive, jumping on the problem right away.
Exactly. And he didn't wait around for someone else to deal with it. This is the action part. He reached out to those unhappy customers to get the lowdown, to really understand what was going on. Then he talked to the delivery company, tried to figure out where things were going wrong, were there any bottlenecks in their system?
He's like a detective, gathering clues and getting to the bottom of it.
Totally. And you know what he found out? The delivery company was having some major internal issues, which was causing all these delays. So he took charge. He found a new delivery company, one that could guarantee faster, more reliable service.
He didn't just fix the problem. He found a better way to do things.
Right. And because of his quick thinking and his action-taking, customer service improved, the negative reviews stopped, and they were back on track.
That's awesome. It shows that he's not afraid to take ownership, to find solutions, even if it means going above and beyond. I'm starting to see why Richard's been so successful.
Right. The STAR method, it's like a blueprint for acing those behavioral questions.
Love it. Okay, so we've tackled teamwork, problem solving. Now let's get real.
Yeah.
We've all messed up at some point, right?
Yeah.
How do you handle it when they ask that dreaded question, tell me about a time you failed? I mean, talk about pressure.
I know, right? It can feel like they're trying to trick you or something, but honestly, they're not trying to make you sweat. Well, not entirely. They really want to see how you deal with failure, if you can own your mistakes, learn from them, that whole growth mindset thing.
They want to know you're not going to crumble under pressure, that you can bounce back and keep growing.
Exactly. Everyone makes mistakes, but it's how you handle them that really matters. Richard's big thing is be honest. Don't try to pretend you've never screwed up. It just makes you seem kind of, unrealistic,
Like you're not being authentic, like you haven't really learned anything from your experiences.
Exactly. So how do you pick the right failure to share? It's got to be real, but not a total disaster. And avoid those cliche answers like, I work too hard, or I just want everything to be perfect. They've heard those a million times.
Yeah, nobody's buying those anymore. Okay, so what kind of failure story should you tell?
Richard actually shares a great example from his own life. Early in his career, he totally bombed an important exam because he didn't study enough.
Ooh, we've all been there. So how did he spin that into a positive?
He owned it. He was like, yep, that was my bad. I didn't prepare enough.
Right.
But here's the key. He didn't just leave it at that. He buckled down, studied his butt off, changed his study habits, and aced the exam the second time around.
He turned a failure into a comeback story.
Exactly. And that's what they want to hear. Focus on what you learned from the experience, how it helped you grow. Did it teach you to manage your time better or maybe to ask for help when you need it?
To turn that negative into a positive.
Yes. It's all about showing them that you can bounce back, that you're resilient, and that you see setbacks as opportunities to learn and improve. Now, how about we tackle a question that can feel a little, shall we say, delicate? The dreaded salary expectation question.
Oh yeah, that one's always a bit of a tightrope walk. You don't want to aim too low and undervalue yourself, but you also don't want to scare them off with a number that's way too high.
It's all about finding that sweet spot, right? And Richard says the key is research, research, research. Before you even think about stepping foot in that interview room, know your worth. Don't just Google the average salary for your job title. Dig deeper. Look at salaries for similar roles in your area with your level of experience in their industry. Websites like Glassdoor and Salary.com, they're your best friends.
They're like having a secret weapon in your back pocket.
Absolutely. Once you have a good grasp on the salary landscape, you can confidently give them a range, not just a single number, that reflects your experience and what you bring to the table.
Okay, that makes sense. So instead of just blurting out a number and hoping for the best, you're giving them a realistic range that shows you've done your homework. But how do you actually bring it up in the conversation? Do you wait for them to ask or?
Richard has a great tactic for this. Acknowledge the salary range you found in your research, and then, based on your skills and experience, place yourself within that range. So, for example, let's say the salary range for this role is like $60,000 to $70,000. You've got 5 years of experience under your belt, and you've got a proven track record of success. You could say something like, based on my research and my experience, and here you'd mention some of your key skills and achievements, I'm targeting a salary in the upper 60s.
That's a great way to be direct without being too demanding. You're showing them you're confident but also flexible.
Right. And be ready to back up your salary expectations with specifics. Talk about your accomplishments, the value you brought to your previous roles, and the unique skills and perspectives you're bringing to their team.
Connect the dots for them. Show them how your experience translates into dollars and cents for their company.
Exactly. And remember, salary isn't the be-all and end-all. Think about the whole package. Benefits, opportunities for growth, the company culture, all that good stuff.
It's about finding the right fit, not just the biggest paycheck. Okay, ready for another curveball question?
Hit me.
Tell me about a time you disagreed with your boss.
Ah, yes, the disagreement with the boss question. This one's designed to see how you handle conflict, how you communicate your ideas, and if you can stand up for what you believe in while still respecting authority.
It's a delicate dance for sure. You don't want to come across as someone who's always questioning their boss or who can't take direction.
Definitely not. So the key here is to choose an example where you disagreed with your boss, but you did it in a way that was respectful and professional, and ideally, where your disagreement actually led to a positive outcome.
So you're showing them you're not afraid to speak your mind, but you do it constructively, and you're always looking for the best solution for everyone involved.
Exactly. Richard tells a great story about this from his own career. He had this boss who didn't want to give a refund to a longtime customer, even though the customer was technically outside of the refund window.
Oh, that's a tough one. So did he just back down, or did he argue with his boss?
He took a different approach. He explained to his boss that while he understood the policy, he thought it was important to make an exception in this case, to keep that customer happy and coming back for more. He emphasized that the cost of the refund was tiny compared to the potential loss of a loyal customer, and the damage it could do to their reputation.
He made a business case for being customer-centric.
Smart. Right. And guess what? His boss listened to him, thought about it, and actually agreed to give the customer a refund.
Wow, that's a win-win.
Totally. So the takeaway here is don't be afraid to respectfully disagree with your boss if you think it's the right thing to do. Just be prepared to back up your opinion with solid reasoning and, always be respectful.
Awesome advice. Okay, let's switch gears a bit and talk about feedback. Everyone's got to be able to take it, right? So how do you handle it? When they ask, how do you typically handle feedback?
This is one of those questions where it's easy to fall into the trap of just saying, oh, I'm open to feedback, but hiring managers, they want to see that you really get it, that you understand how valuable feedback can be for, growing and improving your work.
It's one thing to say you're open to feedback, but it's another thing to actually seek it out, to use it to become the best version of yourself.
100%. Richard suggests framing your answer around your desire to always be learning and improving, and how you see feedback as an essential part of that journey. Don't just say you're open to it, give them a for instance. Tell them about a time when you received some really helpful feedback and used it to make a positive change. Did a manager or maybe a colleague give you some advice that helped you level up your skills or approach a project differently?
Give them a real-life example of how you turned feedback into action.
Exactly. It shows them that you're not just paying lip service to the whole feedback thing. You actually embrace it. It's like saying, okay, so maybe I'm not perfect, and who is, right? But I'm always striving to be better. And feedback. That's how I get there.
I love that. Okay, ready for a question that can feel a little more, I don't know, personal in a professional setting?
Bring it on, I think.
What do you do in your free time?
Yes, the free time question. It can be a little tricky because, on the one hand, you want to show them that you're not just a work robot, that you have interests and hobbies outside of the office, but you also want to keep it professional, keep it relevant to the job you're applying for.
Right, so maybe save the detailed account of your Dungeons & Dragons campaign for another time, unless, of course, you're applying for a game design job.
Exactly. So how do you strike that balance? Richard's advice: think about the qualities that employers are looking for. Things like intellectual curiosity, a desire to learn and grow, a passion for giving back to the community, or maybe the ability to work effectively as part of a team. Then choose activities that reflect those strengths.
Okay, I like that. So, for example, instead of just saying, I like to watch TV, which doesn't really tell them much, you could talk about how much you love reading, especially books about your field or that help you learn new skills. Or maybe you're really into volunteering with an organization that aligns with your values.
Perfect examples. Those are all activities that show you're a well-rounded person who's engaged in the world around them. Like Richard talks about how much he loves to read, especially books about leadership and personal growth. He also enjoys staying active by going to the gym and playing football.
See, relatable, positive, and you don't have to be a marathon runner or a literary scholar to impress them. It's just about showing them you have a life outside of work, which makes you, more interesting.
Exactly. And it really doesn't have to be complicated. Even something as simple as, I love trying out new recipes, can show them you're creative and always up for a challenge. The important thing is to be genuine. Choose activities you actually enjoy that light you up.
Because when you're genuinely passionate about something, it shows. Okay, let's wrap up this section with a question that's all about finding the right fit. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Totally. You want to make sure it's a good match for both of you.
Exactly.
Right.
So how do you answer the question, what is your ideal work environment?
This is where all that research you did beforehand comes in handy. Remember when we talked about becoming a company sleuth? This is where you put those detective skills to work. They're not just trying to get to know you. They want to see if you'd be a good fit for their company culture.
So before you even walk in the door, you should have a pretty good sense of the company's vibe, their values, their mission, their work style.
Right. Do they have a super collaborative environment? Are they all about speed and results? Do they value individual contributions, or is it more about teamwork? Once you have a handle on their style, you can tailor your answer to show them you get it, that you'd thrive in their environment.
So for example, if you know they're all about collaboration, you'd emphasize your teamwork skills and how much you love working with others. But if they're more fast-paced and results-oriented, you'd highlight your ability to work under pressure, meet those deadlines, and deliver amazing results.
Exactly. Find the overlap between your ideal work environment and what they offer. And Richard, he's got a great tip for this. Use language from their website, their mission statement, their values. Show them you speak their language.
So it's like you're already part of the team.
Right. If they pride themselves on being innovative, you might say something like, I thrive in environments where creativity is encouraged, where people are always experimenting and pushing boundaries. Or if they're all about teamwork, you could say, I really value open communication, shared goals, and mutual respect. Those are essential for me in a work environment.
It's like finding that perfect work family, you know? You're not just clocking in and clocking out. You're part of something that really clicks with you.
Exactly. You've got to find that place where your passions and their goals, they line up. And speaking of finding the perfect fit, it's crazy how much we've covered just from one of Richard's videos. He really packs a punch with his advice, you know?
He does. And he makes it fun to watch, which is always a bonus.
Yeah.
But, it's one thing to hear these tips and tricks. It's another thing to actually use them, right?
Totally. Practice makes perfect, especially when it comes to job interviews. The more you practice those answers, the more confident you'll feel when you're sitting there in the hot seat.
Right. No more deer in the headlights moment. And I love that Richard gives you all these extra resources too, like that downloadable guide on his website.
Oh, yeah, that guide is gold. Did you see that? 7171. Brilliant answers to common interview questions. It's like having a cheat sheet for success.
It's like having a secret weapon in your back pocket. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, I think it's important to emphasize something that Richard mentions throughout his video, something that's super important. Be yourself.
Yes. 1,000 times, yes.
Yeah.
Authenticity is everything.
All these tips and strategies, they're amazing, but they're not about turning you into somebody you're not. They're about helping you shine, about showing them the best version of yourself.
It's like, you're already a diamond, right? These tips, they're just the polish that makes you sparkle even brighter.
Love it. So let your personality shine through, believe in yourself, and show them why you're the perfect person for the job.
You've got the skills, you've got the experience, and now, thanks to Richard, you've got the strategies. Go get them.
Yes. Go out there and totally rock that interview. And that wraps up our deep dive on acing those job interviews, inspired by the one and only Richard McMunn from CareerVids. We covered everything from those first nerve-wracking questions to those tricky behavioral ones, and now you've got a whole toolbox full of strategies and tips to help you stand out from the crowd.
Don't forget, preparation is key. The more you practice, the more confident you'll feel. And remember, you've got this. You have unique talents and experiences that employers are looking for.
That's right. So go out there, show them what you're made of, and find that job that's perfect for you. Till next time, happy job hunting, everyone.